So good morning, everyone. I was just saying to Joanne and Laura here that I'm in sunglasses just because I've got the beautiful sun beaming right down on me. And while I am doing the Dharma talk, I'll keep them on and then I'll take them off when I go to the mat. So I'm here in Chatham, New York, practicing outside today. I actually led a practice here in, I think, April. And I have a couple pictures of myself doing flying pigeon right there. And we had a really good Dharma discussion that day because I think Maddie was on and we just got to talking about the magnificence and the majesty of color in our world. It's just so beautiful that we get to witness these colors. There's actually an interesting thing with color. Some of you may have seen this and I don't really know it too well, so I'll have to paraphrase, but there's some thing that these colors, they don't actually exist, but it's because of the way that our eye perceives them and the way that all the fractals kind of come together and intersect. And Maxime was sharing something really beautiful about the mixing of colors on a palette the other week, and I'm reminded of that. But it's actually it's the way that they're synthesized, and it's actually our perception that creates this majesty and this beauty and this wonder. It's so special. You know, that other living, walking creatures, they don't necessarily, animals, they don't necessarily see all these colors. You hear about that with a dog, for example. And I think it's actually quite appropriate for what we're going to talk about today, because we've come to the end of the Yamas in the Yoga Sutras. And so we've moved through the Yamas, and just as a reminder, the Yamas are principles of self-regulation. They help us to deprogram habitual patterns that the mind develops in its misguided attempts to find security within the plane of Maya. And I always like to just sort of pause there and just acknowledge that there is a misguided attempt. There is an attempt, first of all, right? I didn't want all of that. First of all, there is this attempt to find security. And I would say that that is in integrity. Like, our attempt to find security there's some legitimacy to that attempt. Now, part of where it becomes misguided, basically, is the fact that we're trying to find that security in the plane of Maya. And what Maya means is illusion. And so that they're saying that this material reality, we're existing in a plane of Maya and of illusion. And the mind tries to find security in that plane of illusion because that's all that the mind knows. When it comes to these compartments of the mind, like the ahamkara, like the manas, the smriti, see how they all exist over here on the right-hand side of this chart in prakriti, in matter, and in nature. And then all the way across, we have these other compartments of the mind. So the chitta, which is actually our consciousness, and that exists on the side of purusha. So when we talk about, and we're going to talk about awareness today a little bit, with chitta, it's sort of the source of our awareness. And then our awareness, I hope you can see my icon, the little arrow, because that's rather helpful, I think, just to follow along here. The chitta will move its awareness into the buddhi, which is the intellect. And then see how the buddhi sort of straddles purusha and prakriti. So I've talked about this before as the mirror that can flip back and forth. But then our awareness, we can also shine it through the mirror or the lens of the buddhi out into the material world. And then through the manas, through the smriti, through the ahankara, which is the ego, right? And if the awareness can shine through in a way that's unobstructed, so that the source of the light and its projection isn't, marred or distorted too much, then we're shining the pure light of our awareness, boom, right on there. Joanne and I were actually having this great conversation this morning. I got the privilege to take a lap around Aum's pond with Joanne and watch the sunrise this morning, which is such a healthy activity to do. Highly recommend that for anyone, and try to catch it now, because Next month, the time will change. So you'll have to wake up earlier. But now the sun is rising at like 7:15 in the morning. Okay, so we were talking about what happens, and like what Joanne was describing, she heard this Tara Brach lecture on the looping cycles of the mind. And that all exists on the right here in Prakriti. And again, I hope you can see my icon. Can one of you just let me know, Laura or Joanne? Can you see this little area? You can, okay, good. Is this making sense?
Yeah. Yes and
okay.
yes.
Okay. I'll pause in a moment here, but I think this is important because it really becomes the why behind the yamas. The why behind upholding these principles of nonviolence and truth and non-grasping, so that this all doesn't become marred. And so the Tara Brach lecture was basically saying that our mind, with its thought patterns, which includes the manas, that which perceives senses, definitely includes the smriti, which is our memory, and definitely includes the I maker, the ego. The mind will look for security in this material plane, and then it will just try to loop that which it's familiar with. And if that loop only exists on the right with Prakriti, we never get to dip into our true nature, our consciousness, because everything over here on the left, that's eternal. There is nothing temporary about what we see over on the left. That exists in an omnipresent, omnipotent, eternal, singular, and universal nature. And then what happens over here on the right is sort of the more theatrical in a way, the beautiful dance of life and the movement, the ebb and the flow, and it really is the manifestation. In Tantra, they would talk about this a lot as like Shiva Shakti, the unmanifest energy and the manifest energy. And there's quite, I think, a parallel. It's fair to say that that's similar to Purusha and Prakriti. And so then what Joanne was saying is, when we get caught in those thought loops, there's an opportunity to let them actually dissolve and shift awareness to that which is present and that which exists presently. And that is really so much the nature of the work that we're doing here. And again, the why behind these yamas and the niyamas. And so we've just been through the 5 yamas for the last 5 weeks. If you missed one, you can go back, check out the Dharma talk. And here's where we are today. Jati desha kala samayana vachina sarvabhoma mahavratam. And there's a few familiar Sanskrit sounds in there for me, like Sanskrit words, maha at the end being the last one, because maha means great. It's maha, it's big, it's the big one, like the Mahabharat. This is the Indian epic, the famous Indian epic. That's sort of like the Iliad. A lot of very similar storylines actually between the two. But I really like this sutra because what it's saying here is that these principles and these values, these yamas, they're universal. And they're not limited by time, class, place, or circumstance. And so actually jati means, let me take this whole thing away. Jati means birth. Oh, well, there you go. That's kind of cool. Yeah, so like your tribe, your community, your clan. And so the Sanskrit word actually translates as birth, I think. Desha means location or place. Kala means time. And samaya means like circumstance. And so what they're really saying here is like, regardless of birth, regardless of circumstance, regardless of where you are in the world or how old you are or what kind of social caste, like traditionally, probably even when these were coming out, it would have been a caste system, regardless of what level of society you're born into or who you are or what body you have, these yamas can always be practiced. We can take these yamas as a great vow and perform them universally. And then when we do, and this is just the loop back to some of that, what we were talking about earlier, when we do, we can actually exercise the power of our awareness in accordance with our true self. And in a way that it's so fascinating, and this comes back to the colors thing, because here's what this commentary, I just want to share this really quick, and then we'll get moving. And I also want to hear from you guys if there's anything that comes up. But this is important. I think this is really important, arguably more important than some of the asana. But check this out. Like, the greatest gift in life is our attention. That's the commentary from this sutra, the same one that I was just looking at, right? We take these yamas as a great vow. So the greatest gift in our life is our attention. Our attention alone is the nectar that the world feeds from. Wherever your eyes or ears may rest, life will flourish. Wherever your will to listen resides, that's where your heart will unfold. So we carefully maintain this fountainhead of our attention. I love the image of a fountainhead. It's the source in a way, and then what sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just sort of, I want to say emits, or I also want to say spurts, because it's a fountain. Yeah, which is produced from the fountainhead is a whole separate thing than just the head of the fountain. So it's just like our attention. It's a very sacred place from which this focus manifests. The yamas were written to help us with the maintenance of this fountainhead of our attention. And if the yamas are flawlessly maintained, then our awareness will come to us effortlessly. And likewise, if our awareness is flawlessly maintained, then the yamas will come to us effortlessly. What works against us is the human form, including the mind, because the mind is a part of the human form. And when I'm talking mind, I'm talking everything on the right of the chart, the manas, the smriti, the ahamkara. Is that we have a fickle body. We're very easily distracted, coming back to the thought loops. At every given moment, our attention slips away. Oh, good, I've got some cloud coverage here. Yet we know there's something more than just fickleness. We've experienced color. We've experienced beauty in this world, and we've experienced kind of the love, which is at the depth of the soul's true nature. So we've experienced at varying degrees an awareness that is worth more than gold. And the yamas is our vow to stay connected with that presence. I love the idea of the yamas as a vow. They become a gateway between what is eternally true and what is temporarily us. Okay? So the yamas become a gateway between what is eternally true and temporarily us. So beautiful. Just the last couple paragraphs here. The sutra specifically reminds us that awareness is available to all life. Every being is conscious. Every cloud is an extension of that awareness. Oh, I forgot. Every flower, every mountain, every cloud is an extension of that awareness. In some cases, such as within a living being, they emulate that awareness through their eyes or ears or noses. Every species has developed their own way to mirror that original eternal consciousness. Therefore, this vow of the yamas will always be available to us. No matter what life we take birth in, we will always be able to maintain this vow. And so, because awareness transcends time and space, because it transcends circumstance, we can always find a way to connect. Through birth after birth, we can carry with us our vow to become aware. I just think that, we're right at the crux of it, right at the crux of who we are and that which prevents us from being who we are. And so in order to be prevented from that, we take this vow. We take these vows of ahimsa and of satya and asteya, non-stealing, brahmacharya, moderation or non-excess, and aparigraha, which is non-grasping. So just pausing here for a moment, would love to hear if there's anything that came through or came up for anyone who's here live. And as always, if there's stuff for people who are watching recordings, that's what the Facebook group is for, or email.
Well, you've said so much, and there's so much here, I guess. One of the things that there were a few things that came up as you were speaking, and I was thinking about, in my human form, as a human being, I'm always looking for security. I'm looking for solid ground. And any way I can try to find it. And it's usually like a natural response. And so this is sort of giving me an opportunity to, take a step back from that kind of, quick grasping at stuff. I think that there are things that as a human being I might go for to find security. And I loved what you said about the initial attempt is a good one. I'm trying to find my equilibrium. That's a beautiful thing, an understandable thing. It's like things that I have done over the years that have been an effort to help that turned on me. And I can say, oh, but of course I understand how I would come to, do this thing, try to control everything, whatever I do. And it no longer serves me.
Yeah.
So I'm open to another way. And that would be to actually be present in this moment. And this idea of, everything is causes and conditions coming and going, not solid. It takes a while for me to warm up to that. And the only other thing I was thinking is this idea of where my attention goes, the energy flows.
Yeah.
This is this is not something I made up. I don't take credit.
No, I love that. I love that.
But that's, so if I'm focused on this solid concrete thing that I think is gonna make me okay, whatever I'm focused on is where my energy is going. And that's kind of powerful.
Yeah. It's almost that we can almost even tie that to the, old thing of if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it or is there to witness it, did it really fall? Because it's exactly that. Like, and that's what I took from this commentary, is that we actually really influence our environment by putting our attention on something. So it's not for naught that I choose to witness something or take something in through my senses, that, there's also kind of an energetic reaction to that as well. And I just love that imagery of the energy flowing, where the attention goes. So yeah, so well said. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Thank you for, Joanne, were you gonna share something too?
I was just very quickly, because I know we need to get back. We need to get
No, this is it. This is important. It really is.
I was just going to say, what brought to my mind when you said attention and awareness is being present. Like that's how I viewed it. And 3 key teachings that I've gotten, like listening to Tara Brach, is please don't believe your thoughts. Take a pause and come back into the present when you're living. And remember love. Love for yourself and love for other beings in the world. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, and if we can get to a place where we can habituate something like that, or automate the habit of remembering love, so that actually becomes the reflexive thing to do. Like something you were sharing, Laura, made me think of, like, we do have these reflexes to be reactive sometimes. Just kind of like my, boom, just like, oh, just, I did it. I didn't even mean to do it. It just happened. And that's what habits are. They're trained reflexes, basically. And what if we could habituate and automate habits like remembering love, taking pauses, Shauna, the sacred pause. I mean, what a gift she gives to us in her presence and in her classes. And to believe our thoughts. And here's the last thing I'll say is, because 2 of my teachers say this a lot, that we are in this material world, but we are not of this material world. And when we believe our thoughts are material. And so when we believe our thoughts, we're believing in our material nature, not our nature as spirit. Okay. Awesome.
I think you got a thumbs up on that one.
Yeah, thanks for feeding the conversation. It makes such a difference, you guys. I really, really appreciate it. Let's go to our mats and we'll start seated. If you have blocks, grab them. And I would love for you to have 2 blocks if possible. And what we're gonna do is I'll show you first from a profile. You'll have one like that and one like that. And one is for your seat. If you don't have blocks, no worries. Try to sit up on something and prioritize the block for your seat. And then come with your right leg in front, and you can sort of find how you want to sit here. I tend to like this, sort of messy lotus pose where I'm not really stacked. But you would notice like which shin is in front, your right or your left. And then this other block is going to be behind you. And we'll actually just start by coming to our seat and bringing some integrity to the posture. We spoke of the senses a moment ago. What is here for you now that's passing through the gateway of your senses? From your external and outer environment into your internal, inner environment. By way of sound, by way of sight, and that can happen with the eyes open or closed. Smell, touch, and taste. And then become very aware how similarly with the breath, we are experiencing a gateway from outer to inner and inner to outer. Sitting bones root into the block. And try to like almost find, let's just do this. Take your hands like mine and almost make a baby cobra. And then put your hands back down. And if you feel like you've gone too far into your backspace, then come back a little bit, balance it out. But the reason for that is to actually try to feel the lift and the activation in the upper body. Inhale, stretch your arms to the sky. Let your shoulders actually lift up. So like they're rising to your ears, and that's activating the upper fibers of your trapezius. And so what's happening there is we're resisting gravity because we're trying to go away from the direction that gravity is trying to pull us. Draw your belly button to your spine. Deep breath in. Exhale, twist to the right. So I'll mirror you here. And as you twist, don't let this happen. So watch me first. See how I'm sort of flexing forward? And we actually will do that later. This is not wrong, but try to keep that baby cobra almost in the upper body. And now find the block behind you with your hand. It would be your right hand. And then use your arm, your entire right arm, as though it's a second spine. And since we're talking about our spine, can you just remind your neck and your cervical vertebrae that they're also a part of your spine? And you might find that like, oh, here, I need to untwist my cervical spine a little bit while the thoracic and the lumbar spine twist. And you guys, it's really the thoracic spine. The thoracic spine, the 12 vertebrae that exist basically along your rib cage, that's the part of our spine that's designed to twist and rotate. Where is the fountainhead of your attention pointed here? Keep your left arm where it is, stretch your right arm up and over. And again, try not to let the right shoulder kind of round down. I just am really inviting us, even if you don't go over as far, be here. And then think about your right ribs and try to slide them away from your right pelvis. Ah, you see that? And actually how I did that was by trying to move my left ribs closer to my left pelvis. Isn't that interesting? So be here again and feel that little contraction there. And so you're lengthening here and you're shortening here. I hope that makes sense. 3 more breaths. Where is the fountainhead of your attention? I find that I need to really press down and out through my opposite knee here. And to come out of this, reach the top arm forward and hang over your legs. If you want, you can walk your arms far in front of you and actually try to create like the same arms that we created when we were lifting our arms high over our head, seated earlier. So let the shoulders creep up to the ears again. And just breathe. Let the breath travel to the areas in your body where you're experiencing sensation. Maybe that's the low back, maybe that's the upper back. I just want to share with you all that I have my forehead resting in this bed of grass. And it sounds so like hippie, but it's so amazing. I loved when we got to do that at the retreat last week and just step off our mats and let our feet feel the earth. What a gift. Slowly roll up. Let's switch sides. To do so, boom, 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 switch legs. Doesn't matter which leg you had in front. I'm not really thinking about that right now. Baby Cobra in the upper body. And I would like keep all of this wrapped as you do that. You won't really, do your true Baby Cobra. I guess arms would actually be here in Baby Cobra. It's funny how when we reorient ourselves in space, I'm like, this would be Sphinx pose actually. And so return that and try to keep what you learned about your spine. What's it like with your throat stacked over your pelvis? Sitting bones down, crown of head up. And if you feel yourself caught in one of those thought loops or cycles, could you pause? Come back to the present moment. Remember love. It's amazing. Arms up. Really reach. Give an intention to the reach. And the upper fibers of the trapezius, that's your traps. It feels usually nice to have your traps massaged. Let them work. And let them work intentionally so it's not just reflexive, right? Exhale, twist to the left. And if you have that block behind your hand, I just think it's so cool. Like when my hand arrived there, it was like, oh, support, relief. And we're raising the ground up. So you can, let me just show you guys this. Hopefully you can see this. We'll be here for a couple of breaths. See how that supports me more than that? So the block stuff, it can be very important. Highly recommend if you've been joining us month to month for Journey to the Peak and you don't have a set of blocks, let's get you a set of blocks. Message me and we'll figure it out. And then try to see where your attention is pointing. Are you in integrity with your cervical spine? One of the things I've heard is that let your neck twist to the degree that your spine is twisting. And I know neck and spine are the same, but for this purpose, just separate them out, because our cervical vertebrae obviously has this amazing rotational capacity. And sometimes that can get the better of us. So only let your neck twist as much as your spine is twisting. And we didn't do this on the other side, but it's kind of fun. Move both of your eyeballs to the left side of their eye sockets. Good, right hand stays where it is, left arm up and over, side bend. I'll come back to facing you here. So with the legs pressed down and out, if your knees don't reach the ground, it's more blocks. Now you need 4. And that's okay, because then you have something to press down and out into. And then let's do this thing again. Let's work reverse, actually. So I'm mirroring you. It's really just your underside. So right ribs closer to right hip. And it's very subtle, but did you see that little shift? I contract. And then that lengthens this out. Because what have I been trying to, I've repeated this a lot in the past couple of weeks, but like a muscle can't lengthen itself. A muscle can either contract or it can release. And so do you notice that by contracting this side, we lengthen out through the other side? Deep breath in. Exhale, reach forward to come down. And stay here for a couple of breaths, because this is not only good for your spine, but it's good for your hips. You'll probably feel it more in the hip of the leg that's in front, the leg that's crossed in front. The sound and the sensation of Ujjayi breath wash over you. Walk the hands back. Really good. Let's come to downward facing dog, please. Also, in downward facing dog, similar to how we were seated with our arms reaching up, can you move the shoulders to the ears, activate the upper muscles of your trapezius? You probably don't need to as much now, because why? Why would you not need to activate the muscles of your trapezius now, those upper fibers? Well, because you've changed the orientation. And so gravity is now more on your side. So it might feel like this sliding down. Can you feel how your scapula just kind of wants to slide down towards the wrists? Push the backs of your legs apart. So regardless of orientation, regardless of birth, regardless of time, place, circumstance, we can remember the vow of the Yamas and the Niyamas. We can remember love. And so we've changed orientations here. It's so beautifully reflected in the asana practice. Non-violence, truth, non-stealing, non-excess, and non-grasping, they're all present with us through our practice, and they're vows that we can continue to uphold regardless of circumstance, orientation, etc. Inhale, come forward, push the earth away. If you need, touch your knees down, otherwise don't. Deep breath in. Exhale, touch your right knee down, spin your left heel down. Before you go up, you could even tend to block under this hand if you want. I want you to feel right ribs moving towards right hip and see how that creates that length. And then once you have that, maybe you start to drape this arm up and over. And can you feel how the muscles, these upper fibers of your trapezius are moving towards your ear on that side? It's almost like you're draping yourself over here. So there's lengthening here and shortening here, lengthening on top, shortening above. And I'll try to say things so you don't have to look at the screen if you're not facing the screen, because that's great. Don't look at the screen if you can, and just go off the verbal cues, because then you can point the fountainhead of your attention and your awareness somewhere else, because we do get that capacity to be multidimensional in what we can be aware of. Tend onto your right fingers now, really engage through the core, and actually use that core engagement when you're ready to bring the upper body up to a T. See, this needs contraction now. Do the opposite. Move right ribs towards, I'm sorry, left ribs towards left hip. Should we do that a few times? And try to do it because this is moving closer to this. Sorry, that's not verbal, but the visual also is helpful, I think. So left ribs closer to left hip. Boom, you're there. Nicely done. What if we kept that going? Left ribs closer to left hip, what would happen? Explore, explore. Let's take a different version of these arms. Look what I'm doing here. So instead of this big arc that way, just keep it almost like a T, but do the contraction. It should feel really nice. Feel the length, right ribs moving away from right hip, left ribs moving closer to left hip. Deep breath in. Exhale, right hand to the earth, keep your arms straight. Okay, so we're gonna do this again. It's gonna be interesting. You can watch this if you want. We're gonna try to contract the left ribs to the left hip, but not to rise up, to do this instead. And to raise the leg. So yes, we're using outer hip muscles, and that's usually the thing I ask you to focus on, but put the fountainhead of your attention actually on your obliques, your left obliques here. So let's try this all together. Come to the position. And then on the exhale, try to move your left ribs to your left hip to help lift your left leg. See that? Twice more. On the exhale. Good, then stay. Keep the contraction. Feel length under and shortening over. Kick left heel to glute. Take your calf stretch if you want it. And then you get into a bit of a back bend as well. Inhale, fly away. Lengthen arm and leg. Exhale, listen first. Plank with right knee hugged to chest. Inhale, plank. Exhale, left knee hugs chest. Inhale, plank. Exhale, right knee. Inhale, plank. See how now we're just shortening and lengthening front body. Inhale, contract, shorten front body, left knee in. Inhale, lengthen in child's pose. Nicely done. Since we're here, pat yourself on the back, literally first. Maybe you even give some of those upper fibers of the trapezius some love. Massage yourself. You can take the fingers to the neck and palpate some of the tissue there. And the cool thing about massage is that it's not only an opportunity to express care and nurturance and really maintenance to our bodies, our physical body, but also our emotional body. That we can do it with love. Remember love in your self-massage. That's so cool, Joanne. I'll have to share that with the group because I think those 3 principles go really well with the 10 habits. And that in each of the habits, we can remember love. These Ayurvedic habits of yogis, dinacharya. All right, take your child's pose of choice for another 3 to 5 breaths. And don't forget while you're there that that could actually be an active child's pose with knees pressing down and out, arms stretching long in front of you. The breath is consistent and deep. This is your opportunity to get into your body. Inhale, come forward, hands and knees. And notice how when I come forward from my child's pose, I actually take quite a long table and quite a long cat-cow. And for me, that's okay. Like, I actually don't mind if my hips are a little in front of my knees and I can feel into this anterior tilt. And then take it all the other way. Can we wrap back in this idea of like what's shortening and what's lengthening here? Okay, so everybody come to cow pose. What's lengthening between the front or the back? Front, good. Front is lengthening. Exhale, cat. What's shortening here? Front. You feel how front is shortening, contracting, back is lengthening? Good, move through a few more of these. So it's amazing how much we can do even in these fundamental poses. And we come back to the sutra again, regardless of posture, regardless of asana, we uphold these vows. If you want the transition from cow into down dog, come with me. Otherwise, just go down dog. So check this out. We're really butt up to the sky. Toes are tucked, knees press apart. When I'm ready, knees lift and balls of feet press apart. And when I'm ready, I keep that engagement as I slide my hips up and back. So if you're watching this with a recording, it might be helpful to just pause that and watch it again and try to, emulate what you see in your body. I would love it. I would absolutely love it if anybody wants to post that in the Facebook group. A video of themselves doing that transition from cow spine into dog pose. So whatever thought you're having right now, pause. You don't necessarily need to believe that thought. And instead, remember love. Inhale, come forward, plank pose. So regardless of circumstance, regardless of pose, regardless of birth, the sutra said, jati, we hold these vows. Ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha. Deep breath in. Exhale, left knee down. Sweet relief. Spin your right heel down and either give yourself a block or fingertips here from the right hand. I'm I'm actually going to stay facing this way because maybe you'll learn something from seeing the chain of my posterior, the back body, because we're kind of working laterally. So you should be able to see it front or back. How do we start? Left ribs try to move towards left hip. And already for me, that like picks up a lot. Left knee presses down and out. That adds something. So you could take it away if you want. But then feel the right ribs moving away from the right pelvis, the right hip. Maybe you then drape right arm up and over. And feel how the scapula, it's not only an elevation, the scapula is so cool. I won't go into all this right now because it's, again, a lot of information, but it's actually, the scapula has rotational capacity. I'll just say it that way. So it not only can go up and down, but it can also wrap. So feel that wrapping nature of the shoulder blade as it lifts towards and past the right shoulder and around the side body. Okay, then where we start to go is to try to start to contract. First, come to your left fingertips. That'll help. Maybe even a block under the hand. Some of you will want. You could even go here. You could even go here. Because all we're thinking about is this, you guys. So if you want to watch first, contract right ribs to right hip. And that's going to facilitate this. And if you're ready for that, move the block and do it 3 to 4 more times. And it's the contraction of the obliques. You'll really start to feel them. Put your right hand on your obliques and feel. So this is what I like to do in my classes, like take time to understand the mechanics. And then when you're like flying in a vinyasa class, your body will remember all of this. It will be habituated and automated. Keep the contraction going now between right rib and right hip to go. Oh, beautiful. Okay. Reach arms wide and contract. So shorten right side body, lengthen left side body. Consider how like even your fingernails and your fingertips, even they have a fountainhead of awareness in them. So that where you point them and where you reach out into, energy flows. Keep the arms long. Put the left hand back to the earth. And then this is interesting. It's like we got to do the contraction again between left and left. Not to, oh no, actually we use upper body. So we're still contracting right, but we're not lifting all the way up. We're just using it to lift the leg. So the leg doesn't lift before the right side body contracts. So if you want to watch, you can. Otherwise, go a couple times. I contract. And so what I'm really doing is like I'm bringing the upper body and the lower body into the same line. And I'm using my hips, which are on the lower body, to control the leg. And I'm using my obliques, which are on the upper body, to control the torso. Stay when you're ready. Kick heel to butt. Inhale, lengthen. Let's go through this knee to nose plank series. It's 4 total. The exhale takes the right hand down, left knee to chest. Inhale, length. Exhale, right leg, front body shortens. Inhale, feel front body long in plank. Exhale, left knee in. Inhale, length. Once you've done 4, lower to the earth. Chaturanga. Inhale, baby cobra. Remember this? Oh, we were already here earlier. Lift the hands and lift the feet. So backs of the knees to the sky. Deep breath in. Exhale, lower. Nicely done. Roll onto your right side. be like this. See, my right elbow is underneath my right shoulder. And just take your left hands to your lower body, your right side body, actually. And then using your exhale, feel obliques, right rib to right hip. Then release. Okay, again. Release. Okay. Think about this. Think about this. Remember we did this? And what happened a second ago when we did that? We contracted and this came up. And actually the arm was like that. So similarly, just go with me here. If we wanted the leg to go up, well, we're in a different orientation now. So up means down. So think of the leg going that way and what would happen? Then you're in your low side plank. And this is shortening and this is lengthening. Right side body is shortening, left side body is lengthening. Good, lower down. Nice, other side. So I hope that makes sense. I know it's a bit out of the way for me to show all of that, but like, I think it's important because you want to see how like, we're always kind of just doing the same thing, but in a slightly different way, right? And so what is consistent there about our experience that we can carry through and use to support us? And that can start to act as a metaphor for spirit, which is the most consistent, the most eternal thing about us, and that's always there for us. So left hand is under left shoulder. And some of you will just want to work right here, like really just work. And I'm telling you, the best way that I can describe this to you is that your left ribs and your left hip are trying to move closer together. And of course, what's actually happening is that's a contraction of both your internal and your external obliques. When we contract obliques on the same side, we get lateral flexion. When you're ready, press down into the left leg as if it were going to lift up, but up is now down. And you're still shortening under, lengthening on top. And the sun is just glowing down on your face. Talk about where the attention goes, the energy flows, right? I mean, that is the sun. And the sun is so generous with us and its attention. Deep breath in. Exhale, lower. Sphinx pose. What is lengthening? What is shortening? And so as Joanne and I got to watch the sunrise this morning, you know, I made sure to stop and chant some mantras to the sun. Thank you, sun. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Were it not for you, none of this would exist. And so this is a nice way to conceive of God as well in the sun. Come to seal pose. Source, right? We see how the sun or God or whatever is in a way source. Exhale, lower. Hands under shoulders, and when you're ready, press up to hands and knees or plank. And child's pose. Let's go for a swim. Drag the right arm back and feel, pause with right arm to the sky. Can you feel left side shortening, right side lengthening? And then keep it going. And I want you to ebb and flow through that. Feel it, length of the side body. A couple more times. And it's interesting because actually Our arm is lifted on the inhale if you're sequencing it with breath that way, but that doesn't mean the contraction can't happen. I've just been using the exhale to really help us align with it. We can contract while we're inhaling. Good, inhale, cow spine. Exhale, dog pose. Walk the feet forward. Uttanasana, forward fold. And you pause. You become present. You remember love. And it is a remembering. Isn't that so beautiful? It's a hearkening back and a recalling upon that which you have known and have always known. Soften the knees and roll up. Complete this by like taking a baby cobra. Tadasana. Tap your big toes into the earth and feel how that provides a sense of grounding and rooting for you. And then take a micro bend in your knees and press the backs of your heels apart. Good. Inhale, arms to sky, shoulders to ears. Exhale, hips low, arms high. Utkatasana chair. Front body lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant hands and step or float any way that you want to go back through to down dog. You create it. You create your flow. Inhale, right leg up. Exhale, open. You just a little bit shorten on the left side body, lengthen on the right. And square off, lengthen out. Exhale, step through. Good, fingertips. Gather strength in your legs by pressing from your right sitting bone to your outer right heel. Good. Deep breath in. Exhale, pull your belly button to your spine and twist your right arm to the sky. And then as you inhale, lower the right arm and breathe into the space between your shoulders. And your shoulder blades, really. Exhale, twist. Belly button to spine. Inhale, lower, breathe between your upper back. Exhale, twist. And inhale, lower. Back heel comes down. Right elbow to right thigh, supported side angle. And probably got to be mindful of the time because I talked so long. Because we could really play around with this whole thing. What do you think we're gonna do? Shorten right side body, lengthen left side body. And then you can maybe add an arm, right? But do you just notice the difference? It's like you're not resting your upper body on your thigh anymore. You're actually trying to shorten here, lengthen here, move right rib to closer to right hip, and left rib away from left hip. And when I say rib, you guys, I'm talking about this spot, like the lower outer portion of your rib. Feel the distance. And then when you get asked to do something like to move your right bicep to frame your right ear, like so, it's not a big deal. Inhale, pick up, warrior two. So instead of even thinking reverse warrior, just think left rib close to left hip. And keep it like that, actually. See how this arm is forward and up? Don't tell the sages I'm like messing with the yoga postures. Good, it feels almost like a dance pose or something. And it's about this. Good, lengthen your front leg. Now contract the other way. Right rib to right hip. Move your left heel back and actually feel your left pelvis turn down. And this is going to be really interesting, you guys, because we get to actually rotate the heart to the sky with the left hip turning down. And then as you do that, integrate the action. Right rib to right hip, to lengthen under, to shorten under and to lengthen over. And there's your triangle pose. Keep the awareness on the obliques. Good, soften the front leg. Walk your back heel in and then find your block. You can take your right hand to your hip. Put your block down on that side. Yeah, you know what we're doing. And we're gonna, oh, a little slug. Hi, slug. We're not just gonna spring right into it though. You know how we're gonna get into it? By moving our left rib to our left hip, okay? So you can actually walk this quite a bit, this foot quite a bit far in. And this hand, the block is like forward and out, like about a foot. I got good news. The right leg can stay bent as you do it. Yeah, the block actually needs to be really forward. It's a similar thing, okay? And you're trying to move your left rib closer to your left hip. So you're really engaging through side body. Good. Let's come to forward fold. So that was a lot. That was a lot for side body. We moved through a lot of those postures that are very familiar to us probably. And maybe in other classes you move through with more velocity. Good. Now you have more information the next time that happens to you. Soften and roll up. End in a baby cobra. And you know that I'm kind of just abstracting that. Uttanasana. Inhale, arms high. Exhale, Uttanasana, chair pose. Lengthen front body. Push backs of legs apart. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant hands, step or float, your vinyasa of choice. That's your transition. Vinyasas to place carefully. One move to the next. One step to the next. Left leg lifts, inhale. And exhale, peel it open. Inhale, get length. Exhale, step through. All right, so we got a few things to go through here. We start by gathering strength in the legs, pressing from left sitting bone to outer left heel. Fingertips. I'm on fingertips here. And the fingertips are light because the legs are strong. Deep breath in here. Exhale, belly button to spine, heart goes to the left. Arm goes to the sky. Inhale, breathe into your upper back, center the shoulders down to the ground. Exhale, rotate. Inhale, lower. Exhale, rotate. Inhale, lower. Beautifully done. Right heel down. Left heel bisects the arch of the back foot. If you've got one of those mats that has a line down the middle, you could line it up that way. And bring the left elbow to the left thigh. Here's your supported side angle. So pull your two legs together here. Use that opportunity and don't miss out on it for the inner thighs to be active and engaged here. And then we'll get the upper body engaged too. Start to contract your left inner and outer obliques. So that's moving left rib to left hip, lengthening through right side body. And add the arm. And what'll probably happen here is that like you're here and then you forget that you're here and the engagement goes away. And so you find it again. That's the remembering. The coming back. Some of you will want to stretch the right arm up and over the ear and then use the support of your obliques to lengthen your left arm. So your left bicep frames your ear, both biceps from your ear. Pull legs together. Inhale, warrior two. And just keep it going, contract right rib to right hip. Different version of reverse. And the beautiful thing about the core, you guys, is like, there's the four parts, the obliques, which are two on each side, then the rectus abdominis and the transverse. So try to wrap your transverse, which is deeper, like the corset, while you've got the oblique strength. Lengthen front leg, triangle pose. Move your back heel, your right heel back a little bit. Let the right hip actually turn down. And then feel how it's the contraction of your left side body that helps to rotate the heart to the sky there. So left ribs to left hip. And all that can happen while the right hip continues to turn down. Deep breath in. Exhale, soften into the front leg. Right hand to hip, shift forward. So I'm having a hard time doing this as gracefully as I did it earlier. You can actually have two blocks if you want. And some of you can just kind of keep your, well, that's what it was. You don't lift your right arm yet. That makes a big difference, okay? So see how I am here? Both arms are down and I'm feeling the contraction. It's how we started actually when we were doing the supported side plank. And then when you're ready, of course, you can. I gotta see. It's Laura. I bet Laura's like nailing this. Yeah, good. Yeah, if you have any questions, guys, let me know or post them in the chat. This has been a really strong practice. So reward yourselves and congratulate yourselves for all the hard work you've done. This is the last thing we're doing. Come down when you're ready. Sorry, Joanne. We started seated and we'll end seated. So we were joking about, even though we're focusing on seated postures, we move through a lot of standing postures in the middle of the class to actually support the seat. So I'm gonna say this, if you have to be off at 10:15, take Shavasana now, okay? It's 10:11. If you're practicing with the recording, similar thing. But I'll teach until 10:20 probably. I just feel like we really owe it to ourselves to round out this practice. So we'll start in Janu Shirshasana. So I'll mirror you, right leg out, left leg in. And before you do anything, try to press the left knee down and out. Feel how that supports you. And we're just gonna go straight to the side bend because, ooh, you're gonna feel it. We did so much work here that now you're gonna get to Find that drape. Find that gentle contraction in the right side body as the left side lengthens. And some of you will come here, no problem. I need a little bit more opening here to get there. And when I say here, I mean left fingers to right toes. I'm mirroring you. All right. I like that option because it keeps us with that engagement of the left shoulder to the ear. So you fire up through those muscles, the upper fibers of the trapezius. And you hopefully feel this beautiful, glorious opening all through your left side body. And similar to the beginning, we're not trying to put that left shoulder down. We're kind of trying to roll it up and back. Almost like you were gonna possibly find a little baby cobra here. Good, inhale, come up. Whew, just twist to the right, or the left, excuse me. And then take the counter pose, plant left hand behind hips, rock forward. Nice. Switch sides. So this all starts with a rotation, okay? Oh no, it doesn't. Starts with lateral flexion. So feel first, right knee pressing down and out, and then contract left ribs to left hip. And you'll land somewhere like that probably. And some of you will want to keep this kind of expanse that we had, like in our reverse warrior, for example. Others will want to continue the line of energy all the way up and over until you can make contact, left toes to right foot. I meant to say right fingers to left foot or left toes. And the legs press down and out. And even while you're here, feel how there's that gentle contraction of left ribs moving to left hip and right side body lengthening. Two more breaths. Inhale, lift up. Oh, really good twist. So you start just with a little rotation to the right. And then that could kind of shift fairly easily, like the hand's already there, rocking forward. Inhale, coming back. Swing your legs around to the front and just roll down to your back. Take one more posture of your choice. Maybe it's a happy baby, maybe it's knees to chest. So we're buttoning our practice here with Shavasana at the end, very important. When we grow and we learn, there's an active part to it, and then there's a passive part to it. Just like when we exercise our muscles. And the muscles don't actually grow when we exercise them. They actually contract and they start to break apart a little bit. It's when we rest that the integration happens. So let yourself land in a Shavasana. And maybe even as you arrive here, you take a moment to pause. to remember love. And in the same way that we're not asked to contract or engage any muscle in our body in Shavasana, we're invited to do the opposite, to let them release. Those are the two functions of the muscle. Well, with the mind, we can release the contraction of the mind, the ego, our sense perceptors, our memory. And in the same way that we release a muscle, it doesn't mean the muscle disappears. Of course not. The muscle is still there. It's just released. And so our mind, it's not going to disappear in Shavasana, but we will have released its contraction and it's holding on. And what we release back into is that eternal, omnipresent, omnipotent ocean of consciousness. What's there as our true nature? An ocean of love. Resting here just a few more minutes. Bring your awareness back to your mind first, this time. The model of the koshas tells us that that mind layer actually exists underneath the energy body, the pranamaya kosha. So then when you're ready, shift the awareness to the breath. And when you're ready, you could let it continue outward. The outermost layer, your annamaya kosha, physical body, movement, pulsation, contraction, expansion, wiggling and rolling and hugging knees in, and eventually coming back to your seat. And one last time, let's just move our left ribs to our left hip. Feel how this got long, and keep that length as you move your right ribs to your right hip. And then square off, lengthen your front body, baby cobra. And then put it down and actually let there be equal length in your back body. That's where we're seeking to come here, into the center. Where you have capacity and faculty and control over your awareness. Feel the purity of awareness here in your seat after a practice. Actually, a beautiful gateway to the next sutra, which begins the Yamas, Saucha, purity. But for now, just pull your hands to your heart center. Wherever you are in your mind or your body, in this posture, pause. Be present. And as you bow your chin to your chest, remember love. Namaste. Back into the grass for me. You can't see the grass in the camera there. But thanks for a beautiful practice, everyone. We still got Laura here. Yeah. Thanks for everything you shared in the beginning. Really awesome.
Thank you so much. That was just what I needed today. Beautiful.
That was fun, huh? That was a good one.
So much fun.
Good.
So much
Well, have a
fun.
great day. I'll see you soon. Okay.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.